What's going on there, guys? My name is Matt, or Chewy as most of you will know me as, and today I am officially revealing the Chewy 2017 North American Tour. Earlier on this year, we spent every single Tuesday of the week on my live stream flying our European tour, which has now been completed in full. I think there were about 27 legs in total that we did, and it lasted us just about 5 months in total of doing one or two flights every single Tuesday, as I say. Everybody was asking if I was going to do another tour, and I took a couple of weeks break, and in that time I have been planning and having a look at sceneries and working things out for a North American tour, which you see in front of you today. 23 legs in total, and just as a little disclaimer before we go any further, please keep in mind that this is just revision 1. There may be short notice changes to the schedule of the tour depending on various factors. Now that we've got version 4 of Prepared out, I do want to do a lot of this tour in the new version of the sim. However, that may not be possible, and issues may arise at some point, but hopefully we will try to stick to this schedule as much as possible. So without further ado, let's delve into it. We're starting in the capital, Washington, D.C., and namely Flightbeam's Washington Dulles. That is where we are going to be starting all the way down here. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Amazing Flightbeam scenery, and I thought we started in the capital of London, the capital of England even, to start the European tour, which is my capital city, and so why not start in the capital city of the United States of America. So Washington Dulles, and the first route is going to be up to a very famous airport, which I'm sure a lot of you will know, John F. Kennedy, otherwise known as KJFK, or New York, one of the airports in New York, a major hub in the United States. So the first route, Washington Dulles to New York. We're taking a trip out to sea next, and we are off all the way down to Bermuda, Latin VFR Bermuda scenery, which is pretty nice. I've visited it a couple of times on stream, and we always have some very interesting weather there. And so I thought, you know what, let's veer off course from the mainland for a little bit and go and visit Bermuda, because why not? So Latin VFR scenery, followed by a flight from Bermuda up to Boston. Now, this is one of the routes that may change or something may happen, because at the moment, we've got Fly Tampa Boston scenery, but it's old, and they are supposed to be releasing a new version of it imminently. I'm not too sure if it will be released by the time we reach this location on our tour. If not, I may either change the destination, or we'll just have to go into version 3 of Prepared and ensure that we can use the old Flightbeam scenery there. But Boston Logan K-Boss from Fly Tampa is stop. Well, that's flight number, let me just work this out. That's flight number 3. Am I correct with that? No, 1. Yes, flight number 3, dearie me. Flight number 4 takes us off to Toronto, Fly Tampa Toronto. This scenery is very heavy on performance, both VAS and frames-wise, which is why it's so great that it's already working in version 4 of Prepared, where we don't need to worry about VAS. So we'll be heading over to Toronto, which is always a nice visit there, and Fly Tampa scenery once again is amazing. So that's leg number 4. Leg number 5, we are heading to, I believe it's still classed as the busiest airport in the entire world. I don't know if that's in terms of aircraft traffic or if that's in terms of passengers or something. I think the results of that do vary. However, it is most certainly one of the busiest airports in the world, and that is KATL Atlanta, and the scenery is Imagine Sim. Not too great. It's not the best on performance frame wise and everything, but it does the job, and Atlanta's kind of one of those staple places that if you're going to go and do a massive tour of America, it's a good place to go and visit. We've got a long, I'd say about 2.5 hour flight then, as we head all the way across the middle of the United States. I don't have too much scenery in this region up here with Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, and all of those kind of areas. I do have the FS Dream Team Chicago scenery, however, it's very out of date and there are runways missing, so I decided to skip it out on the journey, and instead we take ourselves back to another Flightbeam scenery with KDen or Denver. I always love approaching Denver just because of the how high it is. It's just a different approach. It's always fun into Denver, and you can get some cool weather, or at least I have on my few visits there. So Flightbeam Denver is our next stop. Moving up, we're going into Canada for the second time after visiting Toronto earlier on, and this time we are off to Calgary. FSim Studios coming up with their only studio involved in the North American tour, and this is CYYC Calgary. Moving on from there, we move to leg number 8, flight number 8 off to Vancouver, sticking in sticking in Canada for the next route, and this is just such a beautiful flight. I've already done this one once on stream before and did the return, and we actually did a bird strike engine fail on approach to both airports just for a little bit of fun. But the approach and departure from Vancouver with the mountain area and the provincial park here and everything that you've got that you can see is absolutely phenomenal. So Vancouver was definitely going to be on my list. We're heading all the way up north to the most northern point that we visited in any of our tours so far, and most certainly on this North American tour. We're off to Alaska and we're off to Anchorage. This is this is Aerosoft scenery, very old Aerosoft scenery, but it's actually very, very good quality. And again, you kind of got these massive national forest areas around it, which just make for some beautiful views on approach and departure. So that's going to be a nice long flight. We'll probably take one of the heavies, the 777 or the 747 up to there, and we will most likely do so for the return trip back to Taxi to Gate. I believe this is the first time Taxi to Gate are appearing on the tour. Leg number 11 into Seattle, KSEA, another staple place that I just had to include on this tour because I absolutely love the scenery here. It's probably, I'd say Taxi to Gate Seattle is on my top 5 favorite sceneries that I've got in the sim so far. Moving on down, we're down to San Francisco. Once again, another Flightbeam route. Flightbeam are very, very, very consistent with their sceneries. Always top quality, and I always love the visit into San Francisco. So we will be visiting there for leg number 12. 13, we're off to our first Orbeck scenery and down to their new K-San or San Diego. The approach into runway, I think it's 27 off the top of my head, but whichever runway it is going westbound here. It's absolutely phenomenal. You've got this crazy kind of hill that you just emerge over the top of, and you're suddenly basically at the threshold of the runway. If you've not seen it before, I highly recommend seeing if there's any content on YouTube, because the approach into San Diego is so much fun, no matter whether you do the visual or kind of whatever it works. Hopefully we'll get some nice air traffic control here or something. So this was another staple one that I really wanted to include on the tour. We're back up north, and we're heading to the Las Vegas Strip. We're heading to Kailas McCarran, I hope I pronounced that correctly, International Airport. There is FS Dream Team scenery, which in the past few days has been updated to include the new terminal, as their old scenery for here was a little bit out of date. However, Fly Tampa are also developing this exact same airport, so we will use one of the two sceneries. I will most likely go for Fly Tampa if that is released in time for this leg of the tour. If not, we'll use the FS Dream Team scenery. And yeah, why not go and do a bit of gambling on the tour, hey? Moving on from Las Vegas, we head back down south, continuing on east on the journey, and we're off to, I believe this is our final Flightbeam destination now, KPHX or Phoenix. This is a really nice airport as well. You can get some really interesting weather here, or as I've said before with another destination, at least I've had some really interesting weather when coming into here. It's a nice large airport, but it doesn't feel too crazy busy like some of the other massive ones like Atlanta. It's still not a small place, but I don't know. I think it's a nice size. I do really like Phoenix. So that's all 4, I believe, of my Flightbeam sceneries being used on this tour, and Phoenix will be the last one. Continue on east. We've got another long flight for this next route as we head all the way down to Dallas, KDFW, which is FS Dream Team scenery for leg number 16. Last time I approached Dallas Fort Worth on stream was a major thunderstorm. Hashtag sellout for other videos on my YouTube channel. If you missed that, there was a 747 landing into Fort Worth, and we definitely shouldn't have been in the middle of it because there was a horrible, horrible storm. And so I thought we'd go and visit there again to see if the weather's livened up a bit from that terrible storm a couple of months ago. Up, continuing on to another FS Dream Team, one of their more recent releases in Memphis. So that's KMEM, FedEx are based here, and they've got a lot of cargo stuff. So I thought this would be a nice one where we can do a couple of the tour routes and maybe visit some stuff in the FedEx 777 for Memphis. Taxi to Gate is next up, my favorite scenery developer, or at least one of my top 3 favorite scenery developers, alongside Flightbeam and Fly Tampa. So Taxi to Gate Orlando, I've always got kind of like good memories of this airport since doing it for Cross the Pond. We did the Virgin 747 flight from Manchester to Orlando, and the air traffic control here was absolutely brilliant, and it was great to see it so busy with traffic. So really excited to head to Orlando on the tour. Continuing on south, and we move to Miami, Latin VFR Miami. I'm not the biggest fan of Latin VFR scenery, but when I have to use it, I will. And Miami is another great place to go and visit. It's right on the edge of the coast of the mainland of the United States. And so I thought it would be a nice one. And there's a lot of routes from Miami down to our next destination. Now, I don't know if this counts. I should have looked this up maybe before we started, before I made this video. I'm not too sure if TNCM or Princess Juliana International on the island of St. Martin, whether that actually counts in North America. But even if it doesn't, I couldn't care less because we're going here anyway. A very, very famous airport, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. So Princess Juliana International Airport, TNCM, we are definitely going there no matter what. We'll move back up north now. That is our most southern point on the tour. And we shall head to Nassau. I can't pronounce this correctly. I suck, I know, but it's still very good scenery. This is another aerosoft scenery. Always a really fun approach to do as well. The ICAO code being MYNN. So off to the little island of Nassau. Moving up north, we move back for the final time now onto the mainland of North America and visiting Silo Sims Jacksonville. This is Silo Sims' only entry into the tour. We tried to approach here the other day, and it was so bad, the weather, that we had to divert. My first ever diversion in the sim because Jacksonville was so bogged under with an absolute crazy storm. The G load on the aircraft meant the autopilot couldn't handle the aircraft, so we had to fly everything manually, which was always good fun. Moving north from Jacksonville, we're off to Raleigh-Durham next. I got requested to do this quite a lot. We've got some scenery there from Latin VFR, so we're going to be visiting Raleigh-Durham, as I know a lot of my viewers did suggest for me to go and visit this location. And it's basically smack bang in the middle from Jacksonville. It's a nice even route up from Raleigh-Durham up to our final place, Washington, once again. Now, you'll see here, this is where we started at Washington Dulles International. We will actually be heading to the other one, Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. KDCA is the sign. There's an absolutely beautiful river approach you can do to one of the runways in here, and I'm really hoping the winds favor us to do it because a beautiful river visual to finish off an entire tour, a 23-leg tour it is, I believe, would be an amazing finish. So we're starting and ending in the same city, but actually going to different airports. And that's it. As I say, 23 legs in total, visiting a couple of different places, United States, Canada, Alaska, all of those different types of places. I think it should be great. There is a chance that I may include Honolulu in here, which is just off to the west of the, west of Washington and Oregon. I can't quite remember where. Oh, all the way down here. I tell a lie. It's much further out than I thought it was. #blame Chewy. But that's still to be decided at this moment. But this is the version 1 of the tour. 23 legs. I am very excited for it. If you want to keep up with the tour and ensure that you don't miss anything, please go and check out my Twitch channel. I'll leave a link down in the description below, as this is where I will be flying this tour every single Tuesday on my stream. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you are as excited for this tour as I am. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again in the next video. Have a good one.